Hey, we're the Spirit Realm Travelers, and if you don't know us by now, what we can do, I'm Jesse, and I am a Reiki practitioner, intuitive remote viewer.
And I'm Juliana. I'm a psychic medium and a witch.
Yeah, and this video is an introduction to evil spiritual entities and supernatural creatures, otherwise known as cryptids. So, the first question we're going to answer is, what are they? So, for the first spiritual evil entities, they are non-physical, meaning they don't have a body, they are in the spirit realm, and they can either be human or non-human. And an example of those would be
Shadow person.
Shadow person. Another one would be a demon, or a ghost who became a really nasty evil spirit.
Or everyone's favorite, the Hat Man.
Yeah. And so the next one would be supernatural creatures, aka cryptids. Those are flesh and blood beings, meaning they have physical bodies. They do exist in the physical realm, and supernatural being that they are not natural to society. They are not normal, your average creatures, And an example of those would be like
werewolf.
Or Bigfoot, or a Wendigo. And so, now that we've gone through those examples, what are the dangers, right? How can they harm you? So, first of all, for the evil spiritual entities, there are several ways that they can harm you. Being that they are not physical, they usually tend to manipulate your emotions, influence your thoughts, therefore influencing your actions, giving you these strong impulses to cause harm to yourself or to others, and putting yourself in dangerous situations. Others like lowering your frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And another example would be to physically harm you. Some of them are strong enough to do that, like they can scratch you, or they can bite you, depending on what it is. So that's one way. Those are some of the ways that they can harm you, at least for spiritual entities. For supernatural creatures, these things are obviously like animals, very much like animals. You would only encounter them, in their natural habitat, so to speak. So the way that they can harm you, obviously, is by physically causing you bodily harm, mauling you. Some of them do have supernatural abilities. You can hear them call your name to lure you in, to trap you. And so it's just like an animal, just like encountering a bear in the woods. Same thing. It's just like that. So those are the dangers and the differences between a spiritual entity and a supernatural creature. Right? That's pretty much it. I think we covered that pretty well. Is there anything you want to add?
No, you described it really well.
Okay. So now the next question that we're going to be answering is, what are the differences? We're going to be comparing the two now.
Yeah.
So as we said previously,
one's physical and one's non-physical.
Mm-hmm.
Both have different levels of power.
Mm-hmm.
They both will use different forms or different strategies to influence you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas spiritual one is going to focus solely on basic needs like sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and your emotions.
Yeah.
Think of it as like they're going to be more emotionally abusive.
They could have bursts of anger for no reason at all, known to the person. They can also keep you from healing any trauma wounds, any emotional wounds, any childhood wounds, anything like that. They basically will twist the knife in there.
Yeah, I would love to share our own stories and our
Mm-hmm.
own observations and analysis on dealing with things like that.
Yeah, and again, it could either be an evil ghost or a monster, really, that doesn't have a physical body, or a demon, right?
Yep.
And the supernatural creatures?
Yes.
What are the differences?
The supernatural creatures are going to be face to face in front of you. You'll be able to tell if you're encountering them a lot differently than a spiritual one.
Yeah, visual signs of that, because of the difference between the two. Obviously, one's a flesh and blood animal, one's doesn't have a physical body.
Right, and in both of these different kinds, you can still feel being stalked.
Yeah,
you can
watched.
Feel like, if it's a spiritual entity, you can feel that something's staring at you in your room, and you just, as soon as you feel like you're able to drift to sleep, for some reason, your attention's brought to this chair that's never looked like a person before. And that same thing with these physical, but from our research, these feelings are a lot more strong. You'll really feel that there's a monster predator right behind you.
Yeah, and with that being said, with the non-physical entities, the spiritual entities, they can travel, anywhere really, as opposed to the supernatural creatures. They tend to stay in their own habitats.
Right.
So those are the differences, in comparing those two. Again, they do have some similar abilities and similar ways of stalking their prey, so to speak, but their capabilities do differ in that sense. And for our last question that we're going to answer is, what are the signs of an encounter or an experience that you're experiencing something with either of these beings, right? How do you know that you're in harm's way? So first, for the supernatural
the
creatures,
supernatural one.
Yeah. So one thing that always comes up is the woods go quiet. Right, you're in the woods. You normally will encounter something in the woods, even from stories that you hear from Appalachia. Right. So any type of cryptid encounter is always in the woods or in the forest, somewhere like that, and it gets really, really quiet. That means there's a supernatural creature around. It's a predator, and it's stalking you. You might get signs of a bad smell. You could smell like rotten flesh, rotten eggs. You might even get visual signs such as glowing eyes, or seeing the eye shine, depending on the time of day. You might even see just their silhouette in the background behind some trees. Sometimes, often, like with Bigfoot, for example, you'll hear wood knocking, or something will throw rocks at you. They kind of want you to get out of their territory. Obviously, if any of this happens and you see something like this, or you experience something like this, you are in harm's way. You need to remove yourself from that area and that environment immediately, because it will kill you. Now, for the spiritual entities, what are the signs that you're having an experience with this or encountering something like this?
Yeah, so most people would say that random illnesses, you could be, imagine being someone that sleeps well, is usually very happy, is a sociable person. You'll notice that they become more isolated, can become showing more traits of depression, and more irritable. They are going to reject high frequency things to do, because something inside them tells them that they need to not do that. And that's going to be that supernatural or spiritual entity trying to isolate you, to weaken your protective shield, to influence you more and more to become a lower vibration person.
Yeah, and then some of those physical signs would be knocking on the door, knocking on the wood, slamming things, maybe throwing things in your house without any explanation of how it physically, moved. You might see apparitions. You might hear a voice in your room or something growl, or you might catch an EVP.
Yeah. Your pets or your babies randomly getting upset or tracing things with their eyes on walls. Different odd encounters like that.
Yeah, so those are some of the ways and some of the signs that you are encountering as evil spiritual entity. And so, with that being said, we've answered all of these questions as an introduction to these things, and we'll be ending this video now. And subscribe, follow, hit that like button, thumbs up. Check out our podcast, Obscure Mysteries, on Spotify. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching our video. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and hit that bell notification. You can listen to our podcast, Obscure Mysteries, on Spotify, and follow us on social media, our TikTok and Instagram at Spirit Realm Travelers. Stay tuned for more content. Till next time.